Especially the dinkies.
Yeah. That was the Dinkies, the Pussycats, the brass sections bit. Loved it. Okay, folks, I know it's not the holiday yet, but we're on the 4th of December, our first of December show here. So I think we're in the holiday season, if nothing else. That said, we're going to be focusing today on far more serious things like conferences, whatever. Anyway, this is the Inworld Review. Of course it is. Pardon my croaking. It would start now, wouldn't it? Um, I'm Mal Burns, and I'm joined by James Atlloud, who's also a sort of tech wizard here. Hello, James.
Oh, hello, Mal. Happy Sunday.
Indeed. Oh, it's the Sundays. Yeah, I forgot
I
about that.
think
Right.
it, to my best recollection.
Yeah, we should know, should know. And my co-host, Thirza Ember. Hi, Thirza.
Hello, Mal. Happy almost Monday.
Yes, that's one way of looking at it, isn't it? Well, you know my sign-off line, but we'll get to that later. Right. Okay. So this week's show is a little unusual in that all of us sitting here, all five of us, in fact, are involved in something that we're happening next weekend. This show itself won't be happening next weekend because we'll be at something called the Opensim Community Conference for this year, and we'll be talking in a second to Lyr Lobo and Rhiannon Chatnoir, who are principals behind it. But James is involved with streaming of it too. Thurza and I have been doing a special televised safari that will happen while the real avatars are on safari, if you see. And oh, whole load of stuff for us to talk about anyway. So we're all kind of involved in that. Um, but we got a few little things to open with as we normally do. And I'll just go for the other video clip I've got handy actually, so that I've got that actually out the way. Or will I? Let me see. Okay, that's Lyra and me from last year, I think. That got there. Nice photo of that, if I do say so. Um, this is the alternate metaverse grid is celebrating 3 years here. And I know Thesa will have something about this in a minute. The unfortunately the graphic for this it doesn't exactly fit my frame very well. So we'll come to that in a minute. What else have I got? Oh, that will be coming to future. This is quite interesting. This is Overt, not to be confused with Overt, who used to. If I've got this right, there was a company called Overt that were behind the community conference and oh god, Opensim generally at once upon a time, wasn't there? Was it what they called Overt, Joyce? Oh, well, never mind. So,
Yes,
okay.
Overt Foundation.
Yeah, yeah. So not to be confused with the Overt Foundation. This is one of the high fidelity offshoots, which they've been advertising quite a little bit recently. Fully fleshed avatars, open source, collaborative in-world collaboration, etc. Desktop and VR interface and stuff. And they seem to be giving them a push now. They're publishing a lot of posts saying all is go, we're here and stuff, demonstrating what's going on. So I guess they're kind of launching for, in a bigger way, shall we say, for the holiday season. More on that in future weeks as we know more about it. Oh, another one we didn't need. Okay, so right, back to the music clips before we go anywhere further. Right, this actually is asking you to donate to the Museum of the Metaverse, which of course is out here on OpenSim too. But it's nice to look at anyway.
Salve a tutti, mi chiamo Rosanna Galvani e sono la fondatrice del Museo del Metaverso, un museo digitale nato in Second Life 15 anni fa, cioè nel 2007. Il progetto del Museo del Metaverso, attivo durante questi ultimi 15 anni, prima in Second Life e dal 2010 in Craftworld Opensim, ha dato vita a molteplici iniziative di carattere artistico e culturale. Intorno al Museo del Metaverso si raccolgono artisti, collaboratori, persone interessate ai contenuti che si propongono, così da formare una vera e propria comunità coesa intorno ad interessi comuni. Per aumentare la visibilità di alcuni artisti che non avrebbero occasione di mostrarsi nel mondo fisico, organizziamo mostre personali e collettive all'insegna dell'innovazione e dell'avanguardia sperimentale. Nell'ultima collettiva, inaugurata l'11 novembre scorso, abbiamo presentato 2 esposizioni di lavori realizzati mediante i cosiddetti programmi di intelligenza artificiale, ovvero quei programmi che utilizzano algoritmi che interpretano elementi testuali per creare immagini artistiche. Una collettiva alla quale hanno partecipato 21 artisti nell'ambito del progetto Più donne zero violenza, nato per la sensibilizzazione sulla violenza di genere e per celebrare la giornata internazionale per l'eliminazione della violenza contro le donne e tutte le giornate a difesa dei diritti umani. Il Museo del Metaverso esplica la sua attività in 5 simulatori: MDM, Ukbar 2, Evla e Alanna. Nella sim MDM è ubicato il museo. Ukbar invece è una bellissima sim di grande impatto estetico. Ukbar 2 è dedicata alla convegnistica e ai corsi. Evla è la sim dove si trovano le gallerie artistiche, The Cube e The Magic Box. Alanna è l'ultima sim, finita di costruire da poco più di un mese. È una sim circondata dal mare di Jack, la Bolina, navigabile, fantastica. Questi 5 simulatori hanno un costo di affitto mensile che non è alto, perché il Museo del Metaverso è sponsorizzato da Draghi, ma comunque, per quanto non eccessivo, un costo c'è. Inoltre c'è il sito e il dominio che hanno un costo alto. Queste spese sono sostenute da me ed esauriscono la mia capacità di altri investimenti nel progetto. Vorrei poter spendere qualche euro in annunci ogni volta che si organizzano attività. Vorrei poter aiutare gli artisti, offrire loro un riconoscimento non solo in gloria ma anche in denaro. Sarebbe molto importante promuovere e supportare tutti gli artisti che operano nel Museo del Metaverso, che possono aver bisogno di aiuto economico per la realizzazione delle opere, per affrontare spese di comunicazione o anche di realizzazione di una mostra. Le opere realizzate dagli artisti del museo non sono mai a scopo di lucro, ma legate ad un progetto comunicativo preciso. Vorrei poter ripagare chi collabora con il museo mettendo a disposizione del progetto competenze specifiche e tempo, ma non essendo il museo del Metaverso un progetto a scopo di lucro, non esiste un bilancio, non abbiamo entrate e sono uscite. Chiedo il vostro aiuto per far crescere questo progetto e renderlo sostenibile. In 3 giorni abbiamo raggiunto una piccola grande somma, grazie ai membri della nostra comunità che generosamente non ci hanno fatto mancare il loro sostegno, ma che tuttavia non è sufficiente allo scopo. Quindi confidiamo che la raccolta fondi continui e che arrivino altre donazioni, anche solo per l'acquisto di un caffè, ma che siano tante, in modo che ci consentano di realizzare il sogno di un museo sempre più aperto verso il mondo fisico e sempre più inclusivo, promotore del successo di ogni suo artista. Chissà che un giorno non riusciremo ad avere anche una galleria tecnologica con proiettori e grandi schermi, computer e stampanti 3D, dove mostrare tutte le opere esposte e conservate nel museo e nelle gallerie ad esso collegate, o anche dove condividere tutte le attività artistiche e culturali che settimanalmente organizziamo. Mi chiederete perché abbiamo realizzato questo video con i nostri avatar. La risposta è molto semplice. Vi vogliamo mostrare il mondo dove il Museo del Metaverso opera e qual è la nostra estensione, raffigurazione in questo mondo, dove proponiamo e facciamo arte e cultura avanti. Un'amica, dopo aver visto la mostra collettiva inaugurata lunedì 11 novembre 2022, ha scritto: bisogna sperimentare i momenti immersivi per parlarne, non parlarne senza viverli. Nei mondi virtuali accadono cose che chi non li conosce e non li frequenta non può neppure immaginare. Noi queste cose le facciamo accadere, non dico quotidianamente, ma settimanalmente sì, con conferenze, incontri, mostre, discussioni, feste, concerti dal vivo e recital di poesie e prosa, teatro. Affinché tutto questo non debba finire, chiediamo il vostro sostegno, ripete, anche solo con l'acquisto di un caffè per il Museo del Metaverso, ma siate in tanti a sostenerci in modo che possiate aiutarci a portare avanti le attività descritte e a supportare il progetto. Vi invitiamo ad unirvi a noi per verificare la veridicità di quanto vi ho raccontato fino a qui. Sarà fantastico accogliere nel nostro gruppo altri membri e avere altri stimoli per mettere in atto nuove attività. accedere al mondo virtuale Craftworld dovete registrarvi nel sito di Craft nella pagina dove si registra un avatar. Una volta registrato l'avatar si deve scaricare un altro programma o lieve per Opensim che si chiama Firestore. Si scarica in base al sistema operativo che ciascuno usa. Entrati in Craftworld vi aiuteremo in tutti i modi a prendere familiarità con il nuovo programma, vi aiuteremo a fare bello l'avatar, a vestirlo in tutto quello che serve. Vi aspettiamo.
And I didn't even need Thirza to translate. we had subtitles. Wonderful. Really, no, I mean, that is obviously a sort of a Christmas appeal or something, but I mean, it's a lovely piece of film anyway, just really well produced. And we're a Craft World, of course, we've been to, including the Metaverse Museum on Safari on several occasions, haven't we, Thirza?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous place. Okay, well, I think I've got a few other things to cover on the web in a minute or two. Yes, yeah, I'll do that in a minute or two. First of all, I think it's time to hand over to Thirza for this week's Hypergrid happenings.
Hey everybody, so yes, this week's Hypergrid Happenings, not to be confused with the Hypergrid Happenings group over on Facebook. If you're not part of that yet, you should definitely join it because there's all kinds of information about upcoming events. But this is our mini version of Hypergrid Happenings right here on the Inworld review here on OS Grid. So first up, this looks like a bunch of fun. Do you remember years ago there used to be a great big cruise ship on Second Life? Well, the same thing is available here in Opensim on a VAR region, so it's absolutely enormous. And it's called Aurora 2, and it's coming up on the 10th during the conference. They're having their first anniversary. So if you could slip away for a minute with a second avatar, or you just want to go there after the conference sessions are over, this could be a fun thing to do. This is immense, this cruise ship, and the list of things you can do on the ship range from whale watching to bowling to obviously lots of dancing. There's a buffet area. I'm pretty sure that's bring your own bottle.
I've got a whole list. I got a whole list here he gave me here. Outdoor live performance stage, dance club, party room, grand ballroom, grand buffet dining area, jazz and blues club, food court with several restaurants, free shops, complete movie cinema, indoor and topside swimming pools, topside live performance, topside elegance ballroom, piano lounge, social lounges, ping pong, whoopsie disco club. I'm running out of breath already. Golf. Golf practice.
I like the fact that they've got a boiler room. That's my favorite part of this list.
Botanical garden, koi pond, whale watching. You did that one. Game room, greedy and chess lounges, bowling, shuffleboard, deep sea fishing, submarine explorer launch area, places to shop, snack areas, art exhibition, art classroom, roller skating rink, library, conference rooms available, PC and Wi-Fi areas, spa, gym, jogging area, doggy daycare. What about the cats? No, laundry services.
They can take care of themselves.
Laundry for services, storage facility, beauty parlor, barber shop, party planner, travel agency, souvenir shop, butterfly garden, yoga and meditation area, wine cellar, coffee shop, bakery, Murphy's Tavern, junk food, ice cream parlor, sushi bar, taco stand, medical centre with heliport, captain's quarters, control room, below deck boiler room, and luxury cabins for rent. Oh.
So you can't say you're going to be bored on this, and I think there should be a special price to people who do all these activities. Anyway, so they're having a big party. That's next Saturday, worth going to if you have a chance, if that's your thing. And then the next thing that I wanted to mention is also on AMV. It's happening this weekend. It's happening right now as we speak, but they'll have more events tomorrow, which is the 5th of December. It's the last day of their 3-4 day long celebration of the 3rd anniversary of alternate metaverse grid. Of course, they've all the guys over there have been in Opensim for many, many years, but having their own grid has allowed Cataplexia and Clifford to really go out, push the boat out in really building a grid in their own image. So lots and lots of light and love and harmony and colors and everything like that. So if you do get a chance, they have a proper sim for that. It's the AMV birthday sim, but check out their website too. I'll be putting the link for that in the comments section here on the YouTube channel. So the next up is on Opensim World. You may not know this, but it's possible to form a group, and there is a HG Safari group, for example. So if the front page of Opensim World is a bit stressful for you because there's a lot of discussions go on and it gets a bit trollish at times, you can just join one of the groups. And this is a great group for anybody who speaks French, who is perhaps looking for help and they only speak French. It's been started by Kelso Huxley, and it's called J'aime parler français, simply. So you can go to, I put actually on this post the opensimworld.com/groups, and so you can find that group. It's 1039 in this case, and join the group. And if you have questions or you need help for anything, you can leave your question there and people will get back to you, because a lot of folks check on Opensim World pretty often. So it's a good place to get help if you need it. Next up is tomorrow, if you're an oldie and you like music from the 80s and so forth, then check out the German World Grid, because they have a fantastic DJ over there every Monday. It's at 8 p.m. Central European time, which is 11 a.m. Second Life time, and it's called Die Große Tanzennacht, which I think means dance night, big dance night. So that should be fun. That's Mickey Bonhannes over there on the grid. He owns the grid and he's also the DJ. So that's a fun thing to do. And my final suggestion is, in the spirit of hypergridding, over on Crono Valley Grid, they've set up a Winter Lovers travel office. What does that mean? It's a building in their Christmas market where they've set up portals or boards that you can click on to go to other grids that have winter destinations. So either Christmas markets, or it's a skiing a resort or something like that. It's a really cool idea by Dabichi to sort of expand their Christmas market into something that's more hypergrid friendly, and invites you to go and check out, not the competition, because we're not competing with each other, we're doing different things. And in this case, because their grid always changes with the seasons, it's a winter theme. So that's a fun thing to do. And that concludes the places for this week. But remember, if you do have a special event coming up, a project, a party, or there's an opening, perhaps you teach a class, you can let us know and we'll be very happy to include it during the section called Hypergrid Happenings.
Yeehaw, as I used to say. It's got my Great Dane rather excited over there, but never mind. Yeah, thank you very much, Thirza. A reminder for folks, if you want to recap on the Hypergrid happenings each week, other than watch this whole show, we edit it specially and put it up on Facebook, where we have an Inworld review group. So you can watch it there, whereas rather than go to YouTube and watch our full program. But it's up to you. You've got a long version and a short version. Very canny, that is. Right. Moving on. I forgot to mention, since we last were here, as it were, Thirza on her own blog, I thought I had another post here I was meant to be showing, but I don't know where it's gone, has a couple of articles. The latest one is Sandcastle, which I'm putting up on the middle screen here. Is that? Oh yes, that should be right. Is it going to work? Yes, it is going to work, I think. Okay, these are the pictures from Thirza's blog too. So maybe you'd like to just tell us a little bit about that while I look at we show the pictures, Thirza. Different
Sure,
way.
yeah. Okay, so Mont Saint Michel, which is on the northern coast of France. I've always loved it. It's a very unusual and unique place, and it's obviously during the pandemic and so forth, impossible to go and see it. So, but you don't need to go and see it because you can go and see it in World. This is a build made by Erwan Elan, and it's got to be 5 or 6 years it's been there, and I think largely unnoticed by people. And as you can see from these photographs, it's incredibly realistic. It's not just realistic from the point of view of just the way you can take a nice photograph, but when you get there, the construction is absolutely spot on. So obviously, it's the place is a real place, and it has this huge history. This is just a little tiny piece of it. That there are these. It depends on how you count them, 7 or 8 different places across Europe that are all dedicated to the Archangel Michael. And as you can see, they form this incredibly supernatural, if you like, line from Ireland right down to the Holy Land. And so there's a huge amount of history and fantasy and legend that belongs to the story of Mont Saint Michel. It's much more than just a castle on its own. So I wrote a little article just explaining some of the history, because that's what I do, and with some pictures from the real world, but also pictures of this incredible build that he has done. It's just beautiful. The grid is called Serenity Grid, and the sim name is Serenity Mont Saint Michel. And it's just beautiful. It's a work of art in itself. He's not all that often online, so it's quite hard to catch him. And that's really the reason why we've not done a safari here, because it's so difficult to get hold of him. But I thoroughly recommend it to anybody who enjoys history and enjoys quality builds. This is the place to go. You can spend hours there.
And the aerial shots at the end there. Yeah, I must say it looks wonderful. Yeah, I'd never come across it before. With all the.
It's a classic piece of OpenSim that it's there and it's not hidden, but nobody much goes there. So
Yeah, no publicity. Or does it have residents there, or is it just literally the build?
no, it's his grid is just his builds and a few friends that have a sim here and there, but they're all artists, the people that are on Serenity Grid.
Now, coincidentally, he did another blog. Here we are, called The White Stuff. Now, this is actually rather interesting because literally just the other day we might as well tell you that this is one of the destinations that's going to be on the conference safari, and we were actually there the other day doing an interview with Tosha, who runs it, and it's a wonderful tribute to, if for oldies from Second Life may remember, the Ivory Tower of Prims, and the creator, oh crumbs, my mind's gone.
Lumiere Noir.
Yeah, Luminaire Noir, and he sadly passed away. But since then, Tosha has, and I think others too, have sort of kept his memory alive by, showing some of his work, and they have videos from him showing how he built, because he was very much a teacher as well at the same time. But
Yes, that's actually in real life. That's what he was. He was a teacher. He taught English in China. He did lots of really interesting and exotic things with his life. I do want to point out that this build was made entirely by Tosha.
yeah,
It's based on the idea by Lumiere, and she's a very modest person. But in reality, what happened was they had a couple of builds in OpenSim, and the last one was on 4 different sims, and we've done a few safaris there over the years. But the grid it was on was called Sanctuary Grid, which one day just disappeared, and there was never any answer anymore from the gentleman who owned the grid. So this entire sim is a recreation of a much later date of the ideas of Lumiere. but it's a real labor of love, as you can see, because each of the pavilions contains a bunch of instructions of how to twist prims to get the effect you want. So she
Yeah.
had to go through and not only do the structures, but do all the detail inside, because each of those pavilions is a lesson about prims.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I remember that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty magnificent. Obviously, on the conference safari, people would be, it's as well 4 stops people would be going to. But, oh yes, this is an animesh, I guess, avatar of Lumiere Noir himself. And the other one is one of his alts, I believe. But
Yeah,
that,
no, the real man. One's the real life man, Vince,
yeah.
and the other one is his avatar, Lumiere.
Isn't that the character or something close to it that used to, it was in Mad Magazine, the Spy versus Spy
It could be,
cartoon?
yeah, I don't know. It could be.
It's got that feeling about it. I think that's where I remember it from. But anyway, it's very, very noticeable, as it were. And some of those indoor places with instructions in the film that will be running while the avatars are on Safari at conference will be running a different film on the broadcast, and the camera does actually go in and lurk a little bit in these places, showing you, the exercises there basically on the. I was going to say walls, but there aren't any walls. But you get the idea.
There he is. Poor old Lumi.
Moody, yes indeed. And yeah, I love the way you've done these as gifts, so we get all the water in.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful place, and it was such a labor of love to have to rebuild from scratch. She lost everything, all the instructions, all the note cards, and everything was gone because she lost her entire inventory from that grid that disappeared. So it's an incredible sign of resilience in Opensim, really, to think that you would build from scratch a thing that people just think, oh, it's still here. It's not still here. This is a complete reconstruction. It's like imagining, when a cathedral has been burnt to the ground and rebuilt, and it kind of looks the same, and you think, oh, well, that's been here thousands of years. And that's a lot of people's know-how and talent and artistic ability that's gone into making that. And this is Tosha's contribution to Opensim. It's a sort of cathedral of the Prim in Opensim. It's a wonderful thing.
It's spectacular, it really is. Okay, well, I've got one final one I'm going to load here because we've covered this before, but it's over a week ago. But Thirza, you actually wrote one of your articles about the Opensim conference. So while I'm showing these pictures, and you can tell us a bit more too, I want to we'll move the camera back to our wonderful settee for a minute so I can introduce our guests. Basically, old friend and old friend of the channel here for sure. We have Lyr Lobo, welcome Lyr. I don't quite know how to introduce you in the context of you're one of these sort of organisers, aren't you? Like me, you're not a member of Avacon, but you're part of the crowd of us that get it all together.
That's right, Mel. Hi.
Hi. Right. Well, we'll come back to you in a minute. That's what you're like. We're also joined by somebody who is, I guess, the boss lady of Avacon, and that's Rhiannon Chatnoir, amongst many other names. Hi, Rhiannon.
Hello. Good to be here.
I keep thinking of a Fleetwood Mac man.
Yeah. However you want it. It's been pronounced many ways by many people.
Which makes we will just pay tribute briefly on the other show to the passing of Christine, but
Yeah.
I think she sang me. I'm not too sure. Might have been
Christine McVie.
yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go through the whole shebang. Really, we've got your agenda, which will come up on screen in a minute, and James has worked on that too. I know, on the website and stuff. And Thirza and I, of course, have worked on the Safari. I thought I'd just show the pictures from this blog, which was just about a week ago, right? Basically, because I was following Twitter, and I've seen loads of people on Twitter republishing this blog, this particular.
It did?
Yeah. Yeah, mostly people at the conference. I think they've been retweeting.
Oh,
your
that's very
blog.
kind of you. Whoever did that, thank you very much. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
that's what they were doing. They were saying thank you to Thirza for doing this blog. So I thought you can tell us a bit. I mean, all
I know nothing about it. Don't ask me.
yeah,
These girls know everything. I just tried to put things down in the sense of a complete idiot that shows up and doesn't know what's going on except they've read the map. So please, girls, tell us all about it.
right. We'll keep these. Okay, good idea. We don't have. There's only a few pictures here, but these. This one I know is showing one of the.
So it's my junk there in the corner.
This is the safari bus, and these are quite a few of the safari things.
Oh, the only thing I'd like to tell you about is that you see this globe at the in the foreground here at the beginning there, that one there. So that it took me ages to do it. It was back in 2017, and it shows the geolocation of all the grids in Opensim that I could find. I think it's like 400. And marking them where they are in the world. So there's a few in Australia, you've got some in Japan, a lot in Europe, obviously, Canada and the USA, lots and lots. And I just put a little marker in on each one, so you can see where we are in the world. So that's what that is. But it's stuck in the corner, so probably nobody ever sees it.
Yeah, does it rotate? I don't know.
Yeah, it turns around. Yeah.
It's in a way, it's a good position, because if you're standing in the sim looking out and come to that corner, then if it's
It actually even has a day-night thing, so you can see when it's day where you are, where it's night in other places. Yeah, I wasted a lot of time on that. I don't know why.
I don't think that counts as wasting time, dear. That is, that's good. That's a great little exercise and proof really that
Well,
the virtual world.
Can I just say straight up front, thank you, Rhiannon. What a darling you are that you left all this junk of mine here all these years. I so appreciate it. When I came back, I was shocked beyond belief when I saw it all. What a sweetheart you are.
What can I say? I'm a sucker for kind of historic preservation of prims, right? Like, it matters, right?
It also exemplifies the worldwide reach.
Yes.
Of our virtual world. So we know the hybrid grid goes to hundreds and thousands of places and everything online, but this sort of reiterates the fact that those the servers that make up the hybrid grid, they're scattered all over the planet, the actual planet, and it's a worldwide community in so many respects. Okay, moving on. Next picture. Ooh, thumbs.
Oh yes, this is one of the other expo sims, because I always love to go and explore them, because as Rhiannon said, some of the things are of a more historical nature, but there's always new things to visit, and it's a mistake if people think that the conference is just the talking part, because there's all these wonderful sims to explore. It's a lot of fun. I don't know how many sims. There's 6, aren't there? Are there always 6 every year?
Expos? Of the expo
Yeah.
parts, you mean? Yeah. Right now there are 6. Yeah, there were 5. Although in an earlier point too, we had a couple linked regions early on that were not hosted on the grid, but were also part of the expo. But so it kind of fluctuates. There's a constant 5 and sometimes a little bit more.
I'm looking at. Is that actually where the music? Is that the music stage in the background, or is that just something else?
No, I think it's just something about music. The build about music. I forget now.
Yeah.
Well,
Rhiannon knows. What is it?
Oh, let me look in there. I have to like him into
We'll
the slide.
we'll look at the agenda in a while, and I know there are some music events listed there, which obviously they're not talks on the conference platform, but there's plenty of other stuff on the
Yeah, I'm
side.
not sure whose build that is. I'd have to go look. That is the music stage.
Ah, okay. It looks like it's something. Yes.
Oh no, that's the shopping center. Sorry. Whoa, yeah. That's the shopping center.
Which I really like that as a architectural structure. I think it's very interesting. It's, again, possibly one of the unsung heroes of the Sims that there are on the conference, because people tend to go in and they're just paying attention to the speakers, and there's all these other fun things to do.
Yeah, it is
I
a very
remember,
cool build.
I remember being on that at some point, and it's quite confusing because when you see it like that, it's fine, but it's actually very symmetrical. So when you're walking around like the inner circle around that building and stuff, you're never quite sure where you are. You're on the north side or south side. You know, I remember turning around and going back, I think I did this bit before, or did I? Was that, you know?
Well, I wanted to get was the fountains, the water, because I had never noticed that before, and I've been there many times. I've never seen that there's this lovely
Water
water
pouring
feature.
off the edge. Mm-hmm.
So lovely.
Now
And this one, I forget what this is. There's a dragon on here somewhere, so I assume it's something to do with Fred.
Yeah, that I think is, yes, that's
be.
the Expo Region 6.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah, I keep thinking it's 5, but it is 6, isn't it? And,
Yep.
oh, now talking of hybrid grid.
Yeah,
This is-
this is where people come to lose their minds.
Is this where
Or is that just me?
is this the take-up point for Safari?
Yes, you walk in through the gate. There's a sort of cascading list of
Yeah.
grids on each side as you walk through. There's a dance area, which is that little green point just about in the middle of the shot there. And then there will be a display that talks about the 4 artists that people are going to visit. And then on the other side, there will be 4 portals, each a different color. People can choose which one to go through first. They will have the landmarks for the other 3 that they haven't visited yet. So they can go boom, 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 4 different places, and then come back to the conference.
Yeah.
Sounds easy. Will it be easy on the day? We shall see.
Exactly. That's all we can do, really. Fingers crossed.
We can do it.
It'd be all right on the night, as the yeah, and yeah, in the sky there, of course, there's the safari bus, which is a contraption in its own right. Well, actually, I think you can TP up there if you sort of click on it. And
You used to be able to dance on it. I don't know if you still can. I'll check it out before.
there's certainly enough room for James.
Today.
James can sit on it, of course. He's very good at that.
Thank you very much.
But James can sit on it even if there's no sit poses.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, the man with the auto sit, eh? Very good. Okay, final picture is, well, this actually is the main keynote region, but seen from a
Far
distance,
off.
basically,
Yeah.
isn't it? The tower, it's 4.
My luxury yacht.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I keep left
If you
clicking.
ask nicely,
the
we'll
great
let you park a
open
yacht
ocean.
off the side.
I keep left clicking here. I think I can move the camera.
Oh, be careful what you promise.
Yeah.
You can have like little parties out there in between sessions, I guess. During breaks.
Sounds like fun.
Okay, now let's we're going to get to a slightly less illustrated point of the show, I guess. I'm actually now going to load. This is on the web. You'll find this at conference.opensimulator.org.
A top result is we're not going to take it. A children's picture book.
Alexa, please be quiet. I'm sorry about that. She can be a bit of a nuisance. Right. Fair enough. What was it saying? Oh, yeah. This is the conference schedule, and I guess we're going to start with this because I noticed that like the 8th, that's Thursday, isn't it? The 8th of December, I think. The events actually start before the 10th. So we've got an education meet up here. I don't know how visible that is on. It's probably okay. James would know how visible it is.
Yeah, it's good. Good preview.
Yeah. Good. Okay, lovely. So do you want to Lyra or
Sure.
well, whichever of you feel
Hey.
yes.
I can start and then I'll pass it over to Rhiannon. This is Lyr. Yeah, you're looking at the educator meetup, which is Kay McLennan hosts every year from Tulane University. And we get together, sit around a campfire and talk about not just tools and tech, but also future directions, what we'd like to see possible, and, our plans, for the upcoming next few years. Anyway, everyone's welcome to it. And it's on Thursday. You had it up there on the schedule. It's usually for about 2 or 3 hours. And it's also an opportunity for a swap meet.
if we're looking at these events on the web, of course, you can click to find out more about the speaker, I guess. But the QR code, is that just for a biography of the speaker or something, or
No, I think you can use that if you want to put it in your calendar.
oh, okay, so it's a
Right.
calendar.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I just wondered because they can be anything. These things, they're everywhere.
Hmm.
Point your camera to the screen, and well, I don't know, it fires up. Who knows? So on the 9th, the next day, we have Surreal Gallery Museum Tour. This sounds curious. Is
Yeah,
this
that's
surreal?
Juliet Surreal Dreaming, and she'll be
Oh, yeah.
hosting her her museum art and also giving a tour of it, which was just fascinating, really, because hearing the stories behind the work is really important. Also wanted to put out a shout out for this region we're currently on. I love Le Petit Prince, and it's such a delight to be here today. I want to thank Cherry Manga and everyone who participated on this build. It's amazing.
It's pretty, isn't it? Yeah, it was made for the 120th anniversary of his birth. It was made specially, was commissioned by me, and Wizard Oz Chrome built it with the help of Cherry and also Tina Bay. They built it in record time, and we had a wonderful special safari here with M. Jannings reading the chapter about the fox for us. We all were in tears by the end.
Oh, that's
It's a brilliant
awesome.
build.
Yeah, such moving content. Thank you, Wizard Chrome, and everyone who participated. I just love it. Well, so we have music and art featured throughout the conference too.
Yeah,
Joy,
so
do you want
while-
to talk about the? Oh, go ahead. Go right
So
ahead.
while we're still on that, I noticed a connection with the Ukraine there. Is that so current? Ukraine Project Ukraine Borderland.
I think that has to do partly with, I mean, they had at the after kind of OSCC, they had kind of done the start of, I think, of a Ukraine focused kind of art installation, and then this is probably the
Right.
continuation thereof. To what Lyr was saying too, that like the overall schedule, this sort of Friday before the two main presentation days is focused around arts and music. So it starts off with Julieta, and the Surreal Art Museum is part of the Open Simulator Conference grid. So
Right.
And Julieta is the curator there, and so she updates the presentations there. So that exhibit will kind of highlight what she's curated new for this year. That particular session that she has on Friday, that she'll be hopefully doing that open house kind of thing. And then we jump into the music.
This is one that the first one here actually.
Mhm.
I noticed it's actually in Science Space, Adam Space, which is not OpenSim, is it? But it's
I think he's played in Science Blade. This musician normally often plays in Science Space,
Yeah.
but they'll be playing
At the
here.
music stage. Yeah.
Yeah, at the music stage.
okay.
So there's a whole separate region, which is also another great build if you go to see it. It's another sort of separate
Yeah.
region that has a really neat build. I always think it looks like some weird space island ship thing. But yeah, so the DJ Catherine Ure will kick off the music part of Friday. And yes, she often does DJ in Science Space, but it will be in the Open Simulator Conference grid.
okay. Presumably the QR code will get people.
Yeah, they
and it's
all kind
listed
of work the same.
beneath the QR code. Do you see the text that says location?
Yeah.
Yeah. And James is spotting this off, because you can thank James in his sort of helping with the whole conference. He is the schedule master. Well, Lyr and James are kind of companions to each other. Lyr
Right.
is the hands, the wrangler of the overarching schedule when we're kind of going through the proposals and everything. So she's the one who, when we get the proposals in and we sort of discuss and go over them, she does her magic like a Lego set, putting everybody together in what days and making sure people can and can't make those things. And then once that's sorted, James then takes it, and this is his wonderful work on the site with actually creating all the schedule entries. So thank you, James.
Anyway, look,
Oh,
I must
sure.
say, it's very good and manageable, James. It's
Yes.
and
Now you know his web
projectable in that
skills.
case.
So WordPress plugin.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
good.
So and then Noma Falta is that you have her up as well. She is performing. So it starts off with the DJ Catherine Ure. Then we move to Noma Falta. Folks might know her from playing also in Second Life. Noma does a lot of shows there as well. And so she'll be coming into the Open Simulator Conference for the very first time, which will be exciting. She's usually got a great following and is a really good musician. So she is after at 1 o'clock. And then another, Maximilian Clean. That's another kind of familiar name, especially I think to both. I think he's done some shows in Open Simulator, and also does a lot in Second Life as well. And he'll be kind of finishing up that block of music. And I did want to kind of call out David Fleeson, Sun Tzu, who many of you know, this avatar of Sun Tzu, is the one who kind of organizes the music part of OSCC. So he kind of goes out and wrangles everybody for that.
So that's all Friday, and now
that's all Friday.
10th of December, Saturday. This is the first day of the conference proper, I guess. So welcome and Opensim core developers, I guess.
Yeah.
Visible.
That is the beginning of the 2 days of like all the conference presentations and things like that. That will kind of start off with Lyr and I kind of welcoming folks. Lyr and myself are co-chairs of the conference. And then it varies from year to year what folks in the core developer team can come. Well, hopefully we get as many as we can. And I know, and that usually gets a chance to like sort of share if there's anything new. I know, Lyr, you said there's some developments on the horizon, right? I forgot what he's working on, but I know UBIT has been working on some new things in regards to changing over some stuff. Lyr, if you remember those.
Hey, thanks. Yes. Well, to summarize the 2-day conference, we have 16 spotlight sessions on Saturday and a panel with Mal. And then we have 12 spotlight sessions on Sunday and 3 panels. So we have a lot of content. Then we have, of course, many live music performances because we'll have more of them Saturday night. And then we end with a Dream Rave Pop on Sunday night. But the conference doesn't stop there. We continue with Zoom workshops throughout the week, and 2 in particular. One is with Sidearm Madonna, and one was with Sun Tzu on the art of AI, and that'll include Rhiannon and myself. So let's see where you're at in the schedule.
Yes. I've just jumped ahead to the 12th, which of course is the Monday. This is Memoscape.
Yes. That is a tool. That's going to be a tour. The other thing that we do too during the conference to try to make it as kind of, because obviously the majority of the conference is happening on the conference grid, but as Thirza's brought up, I mean, and what she is a huge proponent of, right? The hypergrid is kind of the magic sauce, as we know, of Open Simulator, so we offer, like, if folks, we have a form on the conference site that if folks fill out the community events form and they want to host an event on their own regions, whether it's a tour or an art exhibition or some performance or whatever, they can fill out the form and we'll put it on the calendar. And that's what the Nemoscapes Forget Me Not. It's an art walk that'll happen. So Asmita filled out the form and she scheduled herself for that. And then we added it to the calendar. So that'll be happening on December 12th. And others, if you're interested in doing that as well, if you've got an event that is happening either before, so this anytime this week before the conference and after the conference, we'll put that up on schedule. And we usually throw in there too the developer hours and your shows, often Mal, and any of the safaris, we were putting them on the calendar beforehand as well. So that's what that is.
And by the way, if you want to add your event to the calendar, just visit conference.opensimulator.org. Back to you, Mal.
Right, thanks. Right, okay, I'm at the bottom of the list now for the after conference event, so to speak. We have a Metaverse Zoom workshop on the, let me see, that'll be the Thursday after, would it?
Yeah, that's the Thursday. And that's the workshop Lyr was bringing up, Sidearm Madonna, who presented last year. So last year we kind of rolled out this whole like, hey, maybe we should do a deeper way for people to like to than the usual presentations, right? Because when we do the submissions for things, we get a lot of stuff, and especially most of the presentations are fairly short, 20 minutes, right? So you can only get so deep. And so Sidearm held one last year, and we had a couple others, and he's kind of coming back for a continuing discussion about the metaverse overall. And so this is in hopes of it being a more interactive discussion, and so that'll be on Zoom.
That's an interesting phrase. He says Open Simulator is a canonical metaverse and Zoom is an extended metaverse.
Yeah.
Zoom. I actually think of Discord as being the where the two meet, because you can screen share from,
Yeah, I think
Zoom and screen share from like 12 or 20 virtual worlds at once, So
yeah. I think the good thing about this is a discussion, because as we all know, the concept of the metaverse is sort of defined many ways, I think, by many people.
So, no, this is you, Lyr, and Midjourney. I've just unfollowed everybody was spamming me with Midjourney on Twitter.
That's so funny. Actually, Rhiannon loves Midjourney. She's been taking me on quite an excursion, and now I have my little avatar in my various courses running across the browser. But Rhiannon, I'll turn that to you.
The Weblin. Yeah.
Oh yes, that Weblins you can blame Mal for that. He is He's a one-man resurgence of Weblins promoting.
Thank you, Mal.
There's just so much Midjourney around, and literally everybody comes up with something in Midjourney. They then tweet it, and I spend 19 Midjourney pictures before I can find a news link. So
So
it's a night cafe is another one, and
the
third one. They're all doing this now, actually, and sort of, some of the pictures are wonderful. There's somehow I feel a bit cheated, but it's not real.
So in some ways we wanted, and I know, and we can go back to the other things too. The AI generated content is definitely a kind of very big topic in many ways, right? And Midjourney and all those 2D art ones are quite prominent, and then other things that are popping up, and of course even on the tech side of things, GPT-3 has new sort of things too now it can write poetry, so and
I've been some folks I know have already started making their comic books using mostly Night Cafe, but Midjourney saves the artist only to draw the comic. I assume they get paid the same,
So the workshop wasn't the idea. This particular workshop was the idea of Dave Fleeson, who's there in the middle on the screen, and we were chatting about it. So in essence, it's still an hour workshop to cover kind of what the various things about AI generated content can be. Is still going to be not a lot of time, but gives a chance for people who might be seeing in some ways too those Midjourney or Night Cafe or other kind of images or other things related to that and have an understanding of it. So that's what that was,
So that's I've gone back to the top of the agenda here, so we can try maybe a bit quicker, try and run down exactly what's happening here.
Absolutely.
Now, State of the Metaverse, the second event on Saturday is, of course, Maria.
That's Maria. Mm-hmm.
A bit earlier than normal. She just basically gives us all the stats of users, regions, and everything else like that. And she calls it a State of the Metaverse, but by and large, it's all OpenSim. Regions.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things from her survey that she sends out to everybody, and then the stats that she keeps, and
that's followed again early morning. George's Stock in Liverpool. Now this is somewhere we've certainly seen on Safari. And James, you're a fan of the railways, aren't you?
Oh sure, yeah, I love those builds.
It's
so
Graham Mills, isn't it? He's really good.
Yeah. And it's always quite impressive too, because he'll usually res something out, Not quite as big as the cruise ship you mentioned earlier, but he's res giant boats in the audience, and yeah, it's great
Oh,
fun.
Absolutely.
I was holding that question back. What the hell was the photo with the ship on it? There was a ship on the stage.
Yes,
That ship was the
Yes.
best thing. I loved that.
he's had trains go
my high point of
by.
the whole
He's in
thing.
past years. He res that
Love
ship
that.
last year.
Ah,
He's had parts of like canals. I mean, he does a lot of great reconstruction of historical builds and how they fit into the history of a city, or an area.
And Liverpool. What's
okay.
not to love?
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. The town, that is. Okay, the man in High Castle. I mean, hot on the heels of Juliet, we've got Art Blue, of course. Um, the blue man is reaching out to the future of digital art and painting. I've got a feeling that we're going to be getting a bit of the old Mid-Journey into this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Art Blue's presentations are always trying to be very kind of topical to the moment. I mean, there's still obviously his art, a lot, well, not all of it, but a lot of it is digital art revolves around Open Simulator and the shows that he's done. And he tends to also bring in current kind of where we are in the world right now. So thus some of the stuff that is brought up. So yes, it should be interesting what his presentation is.
I like what he does. Sorry there, Mal. This is Lear. What I love about what he does is he forms a connection between people and the content and how it transforms us. And he does some deep thinking about how our use of AI not just augments the experience, but how it inspires us or we inspire it. And that kind of connection, it's always very thought-provoking. And of course, the little film clips by Wizard Chrome that permeate the session. I just love those.
Well, moving down, right next door to him, actually, art is art is art, but, and this is Juliet, of course. It's quite interesting because the art is becoming a real theme here, and of course, art is the Hypergrid Valley. All four locations are basically based on art this year. Yeah. I
Yeah, and
guess
Julieta has an interesting background because, of course, she is a professional painter, right? And
yeah.
in traditional mediums too. And so I think there'll be a bit of that, as you were saying, that kind of the good and the bad, and that kind of tension between like when you talk about things like AI art and the physical
Now,
painting on this canvas.
this one is actually quite new on me, conceptualizing immersive music and sound design using Dolby Atmos. Now, I tend to think of people like Lauren Tone and Dizzy Banjo as
Well, Mal, this is one of my graduates, Primo Wittel's Dr. Jeffrey Tackett. He teaches in Nashville, and he proposed this session. And in his dissertation research, he built a VR lab as a sound stage and teaches students how to assemble an entire sound. It's like 102 steps to build an entire sound studio with
Right.
all the equipment and calibrate it. Well, they did that all in VR, and then they evaluated how students could learn in VR. This was years ago, but now he's extended the work because he's fascinated about the connections of virtual worlds, VR, and of course, music.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because there's I mean, as well as going into virtual worlds to hear music, like you've got the days before the event, there's a lot more you can do, with immersive music because sound can, basically it can use spatial audio to do things that you really can't in the real world. You're always positioned somewhere in relation to a performer in the real world. Or if you're listening at home, you've probably got Dolby surround, but you haven't got this thing where you might move a few inches one way and the whole the whole balance changes depending on your movement. You can't have that in the real world. So it's quite fascinating the stuff that people can possibly investigate in virtual worlds for music and just ambient sound for that matter.
Mm-hmm. and that locational kind of sound adds so much to the immersive experience itself.
Yeah.
That's that's true. You convey a message much more deeply if you can get the sound right on a build, and that's great if you whether you have students or whether you have a public that is looking at an artwork, or whether you're trying to convey any message at all, or trying to inspire people to, for example, thinking about the Museo del Metaverso that we saw before, their fundraising attempt. Just seeing that wonderfully put together video with the great sounds and everything, how it inspires you to want to get involved and feel like you're part of something that is worthwhile and interesting, and you want to get behind it. When you see something that has sound, it just adds an element to every build that has it well done, and it's not easy. It's a complete world unto itself, isn't it? Many builders are very good at what they do, but they haven't got the first idea about how to get the sound right on a region.
And so you were going to the schedule. You popped on the WordPress one for a second. That is that presentation, the W4OS, is basically a WordPress plugin that allows you to be able to kind of administer and also have your users be able to sort their profile and stuff. So for those who might have a grid or a part of grid, like they can use something like that WordPress plugin, and that would allow you to kind of have like almost like a deeper kind of web presence for your members, and be able to do like admin tasks and stuff just using WordPress. So you wouldn't have to use another tool.
Right. Is this person on the viewer panel too? I don't know.
No, but you could probably ask him. We could probably ask if you wanted.
Yeah.
But it's more of an outside tool than it is a.
Yeah. So I mean, this isn't just like a WordPress plugin that can go directly into an OpenSim region. It's presumably you have to configure the region to be web compatible.
Yeah, but it would allow you to control, like as I was saying, like all the avatar related stuff. So if you think about like Diva's Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah.
In some ways, it's this is like especially if you have a WordPress site, this would be a much more plugged into.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So it allows you to do those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know he's working on other integrations. He did present last year, and he's going to talk about kind of the new cool things that he's been adding to it.
Yeah, 11 o'clock, we got Dream Grid statistics.
With Ferd.
This is our friend Ferd, of course, who he produces, hundreds of people have his Dream Grid installation, which is a sort of particular, though not particularly exceptional, but a version of the OpenSim software. And people have it on servers, or they actually run it on their own computers and stuff. So
it allows you to quickly bring up an open simulator grid.
Yeah, it's really extended, the hypergrid and everything else. They're quite major.
Yeah.
Well, about meal break, I don't think we've got too much to talk about there.
Yeah. At the same time,
Speak for yourself. That's the most important part of the thing for some people. Is the meal break. Come on.
Yeah, and during that particular meal break too, right? Anybody who's kind of like, if there's a special kind of VIP discussion with the developers during that time. So that's another thing that happens at that same time. And so anybody who's helped with, the conference in some way or another, so presenters, speakers, crowdfunders, staff, like they're all able to go to that. It's kind of like a special session for those for folks to be able to ask questions.
Yeah, so it's the VIP Open Simulator there. Right, okay, I think we need to hurry down this a bit, just because we're trying to do an overview, not a sort of a show on each thing. The Open Metaverse panel is, of course, something I'm working on. I'll be joined by Eva Hennick for sure, and I'm still hoping we got Adam and Mr. Metaverse as well. So
and they're all of the Open Metaverse.
That's really we'll be looking at ways that Open Simulator, I suppose, can connect with the open Metaverse things, where the people like OMI are working on protocols, to connect things together, and maybe there will be ways that Opensim's hardly going to integrate into something that vast, but it could, there'll be little avenues where they'll work together. I'm curious about the Basil viewer experiment. Is this Mr. Blue
Mr.
guy?
Blue.
Mr.
Oh, right.
Blue.
I did actually speak to Callista and tried to get her to contact you about that panel, but she's chickened out. She's a bit nervous, I think. But she's actually been working with Mr. Blue on hers, although hers has got a different name. But hopefully she'll come along and comment anyway. Educators across. This is just PR for Virtual Worlds Educators Conference, which is that isn't education.
No, it's the consortium, it's not the VWBPE.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
that's actually Second Life, isn't it? Rather than Open.
they do have a footprint in hypergrid footprint on
Yes.
Thinker's regions in Kitely.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
They're
Val
expanding.
Librarian.
That's the reason for the group is they're always encouraging people to participate because they're trying to broaden into other worlds.
Right. Opensim NGC. What be this?
Yeah, so you can open it up too.
This
so-
is thinking about
go on.
security. We've all noted that one of the issues with the hypergrid, which is so wonderful, is the fact that we're not using a secure socket or TLS, right? And not encryption. So now we're starting to think about what are trusted grids. And as we think about businesses and other groups and even government, right, entering into virtual worlds, what kind of architecture and protocols do we need? And so that's starting the conversation there.
Right.
Yeah, in some ways, actually, I like even jumping off from like what Moses was doing, right? Like some of that discussion of like trusted grids.
Right. All this talk of the new metaverse and everything else, the issues of trust and security and everything are all over the place at the moment. So it's, important topic really. Moses, of course, being that was a relatively short-lived idea where the American military were using Opensim.
For training and yeah.
Talking
And I
of
just
which-
think it's
let's
still
hope they don't come back. Do we really need that?
Well, so we're
Let's
moving.
not have any government involvement at all.
Yeah.
How about that?
Let's keep-
Well, I'm not thinking of government oversight. I'm thinking of if we have a metaverse that has everyone in it, and I mean government as a
Let's
service
not
to the
have that.
people.
That's a terrible idea.
Is it? Oh, well, but you have to understand, I'm
I
government.
don't want anybody
too.
else to come.
Oh, that's so
No, I
funny.
think
Well, I support a lot of government projects. I have for 18 years,
Oh, okay.
but we do it as a proof of concept to talk about the beauty of these spaces and the power of how the synergy and symmetry of sharing
That's
ideas and
lovely.
having these experiences. So we look at the
Sure.
positive. We're not thinking of the oversight and control. No.
My problem with that is, Lyr, I'm not familiar with any time in which something very beautiful and lovely has ever been improved by having the government anywhere near it. Just saying.
Well,
No
well,
criticism of your work. I
No,
know
no,
you're
I
a person who loves
understand.
art.
You have
and
to realize I'm
beautiful
like an
things.
informal
Seriously.
advisor to them, but I have been since 2008, in these worlds,
Wow.
and so, and that's what virtual harmony is this harmonizing moment between the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, the government, and then also thinking about artificial intelligence education, game-based learning, and a whole bunch of technologies. And part of our mission has been the mission to Mars. So that tends to be less controversial, right?
I think
And we'll get more into that on the
sure.
Sunday stuff once you get to
yeah,
that schedule.
and we
I'm
have
pretty sure the people of Mars probably would prefer us not to go.
We have to get there first.
they'll plug.
I work for the government too.
They'll put the plug on it. If Elon goes,
Sadly,
and
we all work for the government.
Yeah.
if Elon goes and puts a server on Mars, you can be sure they'll unplug it before we get there.
Let's hope so.
No, it's quite interesting. I mean, it really is the size. We go around the hypergrid and things like that, and the open hypergrid. Even there we come across scientific and historical sorts of stuff. That's very interesting, and it makes sense that Moses, for example, wasn't even on on Opensim proper. You couldn't hypergrid though. You couldn't even jump there, even with permission. It was
Tricky to even make an account there. It wasn't easy for me to get an account back in the
exactly.
day.
Well, yeah, I only got a day pass once to film Philip. It's just.
And I think it's wonderful the way Lyr is. She's got such a wonderfully optimistic viewpoint.
Yeah.
Well, you know
I say
why?
I don't share it, but I do appreciate it.
Well, you know why? I'm a volunteer. They don't pay me. I do this because, here's how I think about it. I think that if we take an active participation into shaping how these services support us, you know, then we don't feel like we're along for the ride. We then feel like we're in charge.
It for the positive. That's good.
Yeah.
So they made us an advisor on their various councils, and I really appreciate that because we have a respect for each. You have to realize I'm an educator, right? So I always think of the opportunities rather than the negatives, right? But anyway,
yeah.
I think that's really the main thing there, because I look at this not part of the hypergrid or Inworld, but greater so-called metaverse development and stuff like that. And yeah, there's a load of people, there's a load of nonsense out at the moment, and I'm actually sort of encouraged by if I hear military and government and things experimenting in their own open sim area and things, I find that much more favourable than somebody building a their own environment which won't be available to the public, for example, and who knows what's going on behind those closed walls. So as you say, it is soft skills training and stuff. It's very, there's the Air Force have had their own simulators for years and years, but you won't find it mixed up with the training kind of environment.
Yeah, so that particular soft skills, though, I think they're focused, this particular one, they're focused more on business related things. So that's more in interpersonal skills, and they're doing role play exercises and stuff like that, which I guess you can say some of the Moses things back to the gov sector did that too. But that's what they're focused on, is more in the business environment.
Virtual use examples in the multiverse. So that's the other.
And this kind of goes back to that corporate training. So you're sort of funny. You're seeing like all the sectors here, right? OSCC, the Open Simulator Conference, is kind of it does this broad swath of all users. So it's kind of unique in that regard. And as you said, there's still a lot of it that's still focused around like the general users and the arts and the creative side of it. But then how the platform itself is being used in kind of all these various ways, right? Maybe it's
that's what's brilliant about your conference, because it brings together people who are very focused on their own activities and feel like that's the center of their world. And then you get this chance to realize, well, it's the center of your world, but there's all these other worlds out there that are using the same platform. So I really salute you for the work you do to make sure that you try and cover as many different aspects of OpenSim. It's very important, and you do a wonderful job.
And I think it's helpful for, even if you are just a regular user who's interested in the social wandering around the grids, doing what's good, what is fun or interesting for you. You're like I think that there's lessons to be learned from all these little spaces, or like that idea of like role play and how you use bots and things like that. Like they transcend all uses, right? So, and how content is created and how people are doing these things. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned, and also having the developers in the room too helps them see what everybody's using Open Simulator
because
for.
it can often feel like there's a bit of a contemptuous attitude towards people who aren't using the platform for a professional use. So it's lovely to hear that give a voice to all the different aspects of OpenSim, because they're all important. And they all
they all make up the platform, and we all want to see it.
People are just here doing nothing. They're all doing something, and that's the incredible thing about OpenSim. That's maybe a little bit different to Second Life, where you get a lot of people just come in purely to relax and spend their time socializing. You very rarely come across that in OpenSim. Most people are actively doing some kind of project. Whether it's in the arts or the humanities or science, they're all doing something. So it's fascinating to have this sort of cross-pollination of ideas. It's a great thing.
Yeah, and hopefully connect people so they're not so siloed.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, moving on. I think we only got 15
Yes.
minutes left, and we're only halfway through the first day. So I noticed Ramesh is doing something here, which is a free open source user content.
Yeah.
But actually,
So
reading the synopsis here, I can't see any mention of open source and free content at all.
yeah, so I think his, we're all very, I think where many of us are familiar with his Resmela tool, and I
Yeah.
think his hope is that he's going to be open sourcing some part or all of it. So we'll have to see. Of course, on the back end side, as an organizer, we get a bit more information when they fill out the proposal that isn't just published on the thing, but that seems to be where it's going. I mean, and his tool for a lot of folks, especially those who might not build, he's in essence creating these sort of easily resable environments for all kinds of things that you might want to do. And for many, that's helpful, so.
Yeah, wonderful.
So something that sounds a bit more fun here is hang on a bit. Oh no, that's right.
Yeah.
Beth Ghost Raven, classic clothing.
Yep. So
that will be popular with a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and some of that is diving into deep diving, kind of like within 20 minutes. So I shouldn't say deep dive, but a dive into like some of the ways of making classic clothing and all that sort of stuff. So again, we have many types of users that come to OSCC, right? Like, of course, and probably should have mentioned that beforehand, right? There are folks that you can register to attend. So if you go to that conference at opensimulator.org, you can register and you can attend that way. We'll create an avatar for you, that kind of thing. But also, you can hypergrid in, right? So if you're in a world that is open to hypergrid, you can come in just that way and attend the conference regardless, right? So in that way, it's a very open sort of thing. Yeah. And we know, back to that many types of users, we also have like probably of the people who register, probably a good 15 or 20% of every year that register are totally new to Open Simulator. So
they want some clothes for their avatar.
Yeah. So some skills like that,
Yeah. Islands of Enlightenment, middle school students. Who's that one?
Yeah. So
this is Spiff. Spiff proposed it from the ISTE Virtual Environments Network. And two of his colleagues are actually going to host the session. And it's on middle school education using Opensim Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, that's good. Over in the UK here, there's a lot of, school level rather than academic level sort of use of these things too. So
yeah. And especially
in the evening,
yes.
First day, you've got
more music.
Witch Whisper, James Olmos, and Kith Whitehawk, all musical things.
Yeah, two musicians and a DJ to end off the Saturday.
Sunday, we start at 7 a.m. relaunching an educational grid in Open Simulator. That's like what we talked about a minute ago. So
so Kay, who's doing that education event that's sort of on Thursday, will be doing this presentation on Sunday about her work.
So a panel: cultivate, collaborate, celebrate, and innovate. Well, it's a nice name for a panel, I'm sure. What's this about?
So Lisa Laxton and Frank from Thales, and there'll be other people on the presentation too. They're gonna go over some of the stuff that they did, the work they've done for that collaboration, the two of them collaborating, including things like SceneGate, and also some of the more recent stuff like the OS Fest, right? The OS Fest that happened. They'll be talking about that too, and that's part of the whole collaborate part, like the idea of bringing people together, whether it be in the.
I'm very familiar with that. So Thirza and I did quite a lot of coverage.
I love the connection to OS Fest and also encouraging the community for each year to attend. So she's going to give us a recap on that as well.
Yeah. And that other presentation after that, Science Circle, is going to be, which they have a big presence in Second Life, but then they also have space in Open Simulator, and they're going to be talking about the work that they're doing there. So that comes after.
Okay, moving down after the break. We have a science circle thing as
Yeah,
well.
that's the one I was just talking about.
After the break, Minecraft and Mindtest global issues and the Excalibur project.
Yeah, so a lot of language learning
Yeah,
language learning. Both this and the presentation kind of revolve. This one and the next one revolve around language learning.
yeah.
And Heike's always doing amazing work in
Of course,
Europe.
a few years ago, Thirza and I did the HIE, wasn't it? And we had a hiker there.
Mhm.
helping us.
Yeah, we
International.
did. Yeah.
Ooh, I was on the couch.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, doing a lot of practical translation between 5 European.
Yeah, which was pretty. I mean, that was a pretty amazing thing that you guys tackled and went off well. Like it was.
We had a
pretty
lot
great.
of help.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
That was a
Helena
great
again.
conference.
It says
Helena,
something
another
again,
language learning.
haven't we?
Yeah. And so Helena's presentation focuses more on teaching English in Open Simulator.
Okay, I don't know what TESOL emotion is, but
Teaching English as a second language.
It's big in Brazil. It's a Brazilian effort, and she's a collaborator with hikers, so they tend to go back to back, and a respected researcher and educator, and it's going to be an exciting session.
Yeah.
Helena Delani.
Putting the two of them together is a good idea too. But that's followed up with our friend Nara, who
your moderator,
your
interviewer.
She wants me there to act as a sort of, I don't know, whatever, but apparently she wants me to be able to escape a flying saucer that will be following me or something, and I have no idea.
I know that they've been working on a lot of bots and scripted content that they will be bringing out during the presentation. So it should be pretty interactive, which is amazing. You know, it's kind of right up there with the Graham Mills. I'm sure there'll be things hovering above the audience and doing, so and bots like doing things. So.
I just hope it's not a big trick to get me on stage and play some prank on me.
It's all set up.
Her co-authors are the other authors from her community are wonderful too. Siobhan and Dorina. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We had but what was it? Says about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had Nora and the gang on here, didn't we?
Yeah, it was a bit longer ago than that, but yes, explaining their project. It's quite complicated for somebody just coming in, but they've got such a clever way of explaining what it is now that even somebody like me can grasp it. It's fun, and it's certainly looking to the future of multi-platforms. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, we had the big thing for us. I mean, it's just one thing on the agenda, of course, but Hypergrid Safari 4-region tour. This sounds interesting.
2 hours of insanity. Moving on.
Yeah. Now, I mean, thank you, Thirza, for many years you were leading these Hypergrid Safaris, and it's great to kind of see them back in the schedule. They're kind of nice breakup, and again, so important for. Many people kind of are either just in their little world spaces, or again, some part of the people at the conference, we create local accounts for them. So this really, I think, is a fun, important way for people to kind of really understand how to hypergrid and why it is so important while doing that, while looking at beautiful art, right? And
a big thank you to the 4 artists or 4 collectives that have been willing to let us come and visit their regions, and it's been a great way to get the word out. And a couple of the people we have involved didn't even know there was this conference, so it's been a way to sort of again cross-pollinate and encourage people to get to know what happens on the OSCC, and at the same time bring these artists to the attention of the tourists.
Love that. Thank you.
That's a nice way of putting it.
The tourists, yes. Yeah, no, it certainly is, but it's fun. It's definitely like loads of fun, and we really look forward to it. I'm glad it's back in the event.
It's worth pointing out here as well that this is going to take about 2 hours, basically, the 4 destinations and whatever, and the avatars will be going through where you see Hypergrid Expo here. They'll go through the gates, and as Thirza mentioned, there'll be like 4 different places. So they can choose which order they go to each 4 in. But this past experience has told us that this is not television. In other words, when the stream cannot follow people wandering from one place to another in different orders and stuff. So what Thirza and I have done is we've recorded an interview with each of the 4 hosts, and we've recorded some footage of the regions that they're hosting it on. And then we've also had a kind of safari round table where a lot of the regular members of the safari were sort of talking about what they like about it and their favourite things. And together with the interviews, a bit of film footage and the round table footage, we've got about an hour and 50 minutes that can actually be shown on the channel whilst the Inworld avatars are actually on location. And there'll be a connection between the two, obviously, because we'll be featuring on the regions on the channel, the stream, that the avatars are actually going to Inworld at the same time. So that was, I guess, our best solution, wasn't it, Thirza?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, we even managed to chase them all down for the interviews. That was a task.
I enjoyed that when we did that a couple of years ago. That was so much fun.
And then
Now,
back to you.
In terms of the viewer panel, it was actually, I will, of course, not only will I be with Nara on stage and then connected with the.
Safari.
I've got about to record an intro for the Safari section. But then I got to rush back for something called the Return of the Viewer panel, which actually it's Joyce, I think, isn't it? You've more or less been.
Yeah, I've been trying to wrangle people for you. I mean, it's always, as we know, it's always a tough. It's a complex scenario because, of course, Open Simulator is the server software, and there's separate viewer, both traditional ones like Firestorm, which we all use, and experimental.
We'll have to muscle around to try that. I mean, I would certainly hope that Krista will be on that, and Mr. Blue Guy, I would hope.
I reached out to him too, so hopefully. And I think we can get Humble Tim.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that was right. Yeah, and I think there's somebody else on the agenda vaguely connected to that anyway.
Yeah.
Mr. Blue Guy, I'm not sure, but
yeah.
Anyway, we'll be looking at viewer tech and stuff like that for that panel. Moving on. Okay, exoplanet activity.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah, both these back to back are
what's that?
Both the next 2 back to back are you.
Yes, Spinoza Quinnell, my research partner and good friend, and Francisca Yanakura, Frankie Antonelli, and JJ Drinkwater. We've gotten together, and when the International Astronomical Union got together and said, we need to name these exoplanets, and there are thousands of them, they asked for communities to come up with a process, a video, and then a way of doing it. So Andy created a simulation that's going to be part of the planetarium region here on OSCC, so you can participate too. We did the first one, which had a deadline of November 11th for naming one of 20 exoplanets and stars related to them. And so we're going to talk about that and introduce it and invite the community to participate in naming exoplanets and stars. And then right after it, we have what's called the Matrix game. And this is not from the movie The Matrix. This is a way of thinking of strategy games where you have 2 opposing forces and you think about all the different elements. And it's a simulation in the virtual world that also maps to a data dashboard, just like the exoplanet does, so that we can collect that data and give you a voice, for participating in these things. The Matrix game is essentially a type of game. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I seem to remember coming to a demo of that a few weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
The other nice thing to mention here, because it's in the text I see in front of me, is that the 3D World Planetarium is named after Barbara Truman, of course.
Yep.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
And
That's
we
another
lost her last year, July 17th. And but her memory lives on, and she had such a fascination with everything we were doing in research, in virtual worlds, in strengthening the community and giving everyone a voice across communities. So you didn't have to be doing work actively in these areas to participate and to have a legacy that lives on. And that's our goal here is to allow you throughout the year to enter to visit the planetarium, to play with some of these artifacts, and then offer your contributions.
Aye, lovely. Okay, I was skipping forward a bit because we're on our hour and a half, so I'm really going to have to.
Yeah. So Maria,
Yeah, I noticed that AI art panel. This is another thing Maria seems to be doing now. I don't see anybody listed for that.
yeah, she will be adding co-presenters there. But yeah, Maria will be leading a discussion again back to the AI generated art. And I know in her case, if some folks might have read her articles, but she's been doing a lot of using it as a jumping off point to design her artwork and book covers that go with the fiction she's been writing.
Yeah.
So I think, she's going to get together some others who are using it as a useful tool for things like that.
Okay, I'm moving down, as I say, having to be very quick here. Conceptual hashes for copyright protection. I think that sort of thing speaks for itself. This sounds quite interesting. It might be a cake and magic, even. Maybe there's a connection with a viewer panel there. I don't know whether the character folder is actually at the viewer end, isn't it, rather than server side. So, although, yeah, actually it's a mixture of both by the look of it.
Yeah. So Kayaker is on that panel. Kayaker Magic, which a lot of folks know for like his, stuff that he does playing with testing the physics part of Open Simulator.
Yeah.
And he's on this particular panel focused around this sort of developing new avatar, and along with Ada Radius, who folks might remember her from New Media Arts and the Shakespeare and other performance type stuff that she would do. But yeah, so they've been working on redeveloped stuff for avatars in that. And certainly I imagine you could talk to Kayaker. Kayaker is also doing that presentation before it that's talking about the copybot related stuff. So he's been diving into some of these beyond the physics stuff, diving into these other things in regards to, sort of security, safety, avatar related, stuff, that kind of stuff. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it sounds like a worthy advancement in the viewer. If
Yeah, and we could probably ask him as well. I know that he's available on the Sunday.
Arts Across the Divide.
Nick Spreen, which you've got his doggy on the.
Of course, Nick. Yes, and Veritas too. So we are very familiar with these two.
I think you're responsible for this being on the schedule. You took your.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No. I think it's great.
Yes, he contributed my Great Dane to the proceedings too. So that's another connection with us on Safari.
Yeah, so another arts related thing in the work that they've been doing, which should be great too.
What do students and teachers do at Metaverse? What at Metaverse?
Oh, that's probably
I think we should draw a veil over that. What they do in the Metaverse.
Yeah.
Right, virtual reality simulations for novice users. I think I mean, all this is worthy.
That's so that last panel, that's Rachel Umorin is actually in the. She often because and you could sort of say this better, Lyr. She works as a ER like a nurse, right?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. First, the one you were looking at, the students and teachers do, that's Marcel Storyteller. And we're thankful that she's joined us this year to share some of the other educational opportunities available to people in Opensim, and not just through universities. And then, Rachel Umorin, what she does is she's a professor of pediatrics at the University of Washington. And she was also a great friend of Barbara Truman's. You may have remembered years ago, like in 2015, when NARA came to the conference and we had all those story worlds and those separate regions. She had two regions that were simulating diseases throughout Africa. And she had 25 bots set up, and you could go through this immersive experience to see what it was like to contract a disease and then find treatment and investigate it and then cure it, right? And so that's what Rachel Umorin did. Now she's working in pediatric education and with new moms or soon to be moms. And she uses virtual worlds and VR, to help them with their neonatal care and also to save lives. So often it's with extreme care, right? Or critical care. And so she and a co-presenter will be speaking during her session.
Yep. And we talked a little about, now, so that will close off the kind of formals, the formal kind of presentations on Sunday. And then as
we looked.
Yeah, then Lyr was saying that there's just, a kind of a dance hangout at the pop,
So before we
Sure.
round up, I think we've got about 7 minutes left. We'll have an extra 15 minutes on this show. That's the schedule for us, really. Have you got any other comments to go over and beyond?
Yeah, I mean,
obviously the sorry, I'm just looking for our.
Yeah, I mean, certainly folks can, as we were saying, like if you want to host your own kind of like the Nemoscapes or other things like that, if you you have a region that you want to kind of sort of open up and either tour people around or just kind of point people at to go explore, that we can help get some attention at it. Like we can, you just fill out that community events form that's on the conference.opensimulator.org, and we'll add that to the schedule. The only caveat being it just can't be during the, the 9th, 10th, and 11th. Well, it could be at the 9th later on, but not during the 10th and 11th during presentations.
Yeah.
But
it's
so
like,
we can add it
it's like this show. If people have sent us a poster, so, no, you're not. We're not showing that. We got a show on.
Yeah. So but we encourage other folks to fill that out, and we'll throw it on there. And the good thing is then maybe you'll get some other eyes that you might not normally at it. So like what you're doing here. Yeah.
So I just got the poster up here. Sign-ups, I guess, is still open, and you
can still. Yeah. So you can. I know Thirza had some pictures up of the various expo booths, but when you register, there's an option that you can be a crowdfunder, and that will get you one of the expo booths, and they pretty much stay up all year round until we get back to this. OSCC time of year. So you kind of help crowdfund the expenses of the conference. And at the same time, you'll have a space there for, about 11 months or so. And we get a lot of traffic, certainly during the conference. And then even afterwards, there are people who use it as like their little, kind of their little office footprint in Open Simulator. Like I know Beth has her little clothing shop there and offers a lot of free resources for folks in regards to that. And I'm sure she'll bring that up in her presentation. And the other thing too, yes?
Well, I have a question sort of relating to that, actually. Many, in your experience, do you get many people who have not necessarily been in OpenSim before signing up for the convention and downloading Firestorm and sort of therefore being quite new? Because you mentioned earlier, some people don't even know the hybrid.
Yeah. So
are there a good number of new people usually?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell gauging, like we can never gauge the stats for folks who are hypergridding in, right? We can kind of get a body count in the regions, but those who register, we ask them some general questions too, along with the registration, like, is this the first time you've ever been? If it isn't, how many OSCCs have you been to? That kind of thing. And there usually is a good, at least 15% of folks who register who say that they're new, So sometimes it might get shared somewhere on social or elsewhere. And sometimes people might, we also promote it in Second Life, right? So, I host those weekly nonprofit commons meetings in Second Life. And I share it there, and others like Beth who do crossover events between,
I was
some of the-
rather
share.
thinking of people. I was rather thinking of people that would be new who would have registered their avatars with the conference grid as opposed to
Yes,
the other grid, and
yes.
whether there's a percentage of them that just kept on treating it as a home grid, or whether you knew of any percentage that might
I mean,
be
we're not
find a
we're
permanent
not
home.
yeah, we're not doing like say long-term tracking, right? We kind of keep track of like a list at least of who maybe shows up on the regions during the conference. So we kind of know, oh, we could look at that and say, did somebody who signed up said they were new, attend.
Just sort of curious.
Um,
Curious.
But we do know that like some of those folks who say they're new do attend. I guess that, that longer tail of like, do they continue to keep using that
Now,
avatar?
all I was kind of wondering is the likelihood of people who are new being able to come on the Safari with us and then opening accounts elsewhere, or even there and sort of coming back.
Yeah. No, it's possible. It's possible.
A few, yes.
Yeah, we've definitely, I think, had some new folks on safaris in the past.
I'm gonna have to be very impolite here and rappers.
That's okay.
we got an extra 15 minutes today, and Thirza's husband won't be happy.
Yeah, I do want to say one small thank you to Krista Lopes, Diva Canto, because she's the provider through UC Irvine, the university she's at. Of course, she's the creator of Hypergrid, but she's also the provider of the grid itself. So all these things when we're talking about the conference grid, that is thanks to her and University of California, Irvine. So.
I'd also like to do a shout out to our sponsors and the folks who are exhibiting on all the expo regions. Many of them have either gifts or info for you or education or just all kinds of opportunities. So please come explore, and thank you to everyone who volunteers, who organizes, and who supports it. We love you. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it's probably a bit small to see. There's this one of the pictures here has got a sign on it with all the sponsors and things. But
Yeah.
Obviously, you won't.
Yeah.
That for them. Okay, well, I think it's time to wrap the show. Any thoughts from you, James? You've obviously been filming and been rather quiet, but you too have been an important part of like the agenda we've been looking at. You did the website there, and
it's an amazing streaming person too, Duran.
No, it is. Every year it's like, oh, is there going to be anything at the conference? And it's like, it's so full. I'm tired already.
So true.
Anyway, it was last weekend, wasn't it? I'm afraid when I went to
don't say such things.
You were there, Joyce, a couple of weeks ago at the OMI thing.
Yeah.
Evo proudly announced that there was an Opensim Community Conference tomorrow, and that was several weeks ago. She got a month mixed up, so I definitely hope she hasn't got this one mixed up. Anyway, I thank you all for being here. Thank you, Joyce. I've been calling you,
whichever you want to call me,
otherwise known as Rhiannon, and wonderful Lyr, to see you again. Always so eloquent with all this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, thanks to my co-host.
Thank you. And Thirza for also helping out, during all of this too,
Yeah. Okay. And thank you, of course, to my co-host, Thirza Ember. Thank you.
Thanks, Mal.
And thanks also, of course, to James, who may be the quietest amongst us, but he's certainly not the laziest.
You're very welcome.
Although he does like sitting.
I like to sit. I'm a sitter.
Yeah, we know he likes sitting. Okay, well, as I said, there won't be an Inworld review next week, but of course, roughly this time, on both Saturday and Sunday, there will be interesting panels which I'm on, and of course, as we now know, plenty of other interesting panels which, fortunately for them, I'm not on. More interesting than my absence. And of course, the Grand Safari on Sunday, which will be something else. We will be, however, back on track the weekend after. In fact, I gather we're even going to be doing a show on Christmas Day because that falls on Sunday. And we've decided. I got that right, didn't I? So we did decide we were definitely going to have a party thing or something.
Sure.
Who knows? I'm loading up with snow and Christmas trees and all the trinkets and things so we can decorate the stage if nothing else. Anyway, that is still in the future, and we will be back in 2 weeks' time with something approaching a regular show, albeit for the winter season. So we're off. Thank you again to Joyce, Lyr, Thirza, James, and me. I think
Yes, thank you, Mal.
I think I deserve a thank you, don't I? Yeah.
You bet. Thank you, Mal.
Yeah,
And
thank
so,
you.
I always say, have a very good morning, have a very good afternoon, have a very good evening. Indeed, you can have a very good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And we're out of here. Bye for now.